What if I told you that some of the most powerful, admired, and unforgettable Black celebrities you grew up watching are quietly fighting battles you never even knew about? The people who entertained us, inspired us, and shaped culture for decades, some of them are facing illnesses, trauma, and life-threatening struggles behind the scenes. When the cameras shut off and the applause fades, their lives look very different from the strength we see on screen. Today, we're uncovering the stories of legends who are fighting for their health, their voices, and sometimes even their lives. Some of these battles are physical, others emotional, and a few are so serious they could change everything. Stay with us until the end, because the truth behind these icons might surprise you, and it might make you see them in a completely different light. We grew up watching them, our heroes, our icons, our legends. But behind the red carpets and flashing cameras, many of them are quietly battling something far more terrifying than any role they've ever played: illness. From life-threatening diseases to silent suffering, these celebrities are fighting battles most of us never see, and it raises a haunting question. What if one of your favorite stars is slowly fading away, and you didn't even know? Denzel Washington has long been the definition of strength. For decades, he wasn't just another actor in Hollywood, he was the man who commanded every room he stepped into. When he appeared on screen, audiences believed him completely. Whether he was portraying a determined detective, a grieving father, or a fearless soldier, there was a sense that Denzel Washington was untouchable. His presence alone carried weight. But even legends aren't immune to time. Now in his 70s, Washington faces a reality that no movie script can rewrite. Years of physically demanding roles and relentless work have taken a toll on his body. Quietly, he has been dealing with hypertension and heart-related health concerns that require careful monitoring. Those close to him say he has had to slow down more than he ever wanted to. The roles are fewer now, his pace is measured. Yet his discipline hasn't disappeared. When he shows up on set, he still carries the same focus that made him a legend. But fans can sense it, the subtle fatigue behind those sharp eyes, the slight heaviness in his movements. The man who once seemed invincible is now facing a battle that every human eventually confronts: the wear and tear of time. Janet Jackson knows something about pressure that very few performers will ever experience. For years, she has stood as one of the most influential pop icons in music history. Her performances were electric, her choreography flawless, and her voice instantly recognizable. Songs like Rhythm Nation and Together Again didn't just dominate the charts, they shaped an entire generation of music and culture. But behind the glamour of those performances, Janet has been fighting a deeply personal struggle. A serious vocal cord condition has threatened the one instrument that built her entire career. For a singer, there is nothing more terrifying than the thought of losing your voice. Over the years, she has had to cancel shows, postpone tours, and undergo intense vocal therapy just to protect her ability to perform. Imagine standing in front of thousands of fans, uncertain if your voice will hold up through the first verse. That is the reality Janet has faced time and time again. Yet she continues to push forward, determined to give everything she has left each time she steps onto a stage. Whoopi Goldberg has spent decades breaking barriers in entertainment. Comedian, actress, host, and EGOT winner, she built a career on fearless honesty and undeniable talent. But in 2019, the world suddenly noticed something strange. Whoopi disappeared from television. Fans were left wondering what had happened. When she finally returned, the truth was shocking. She had been battling double pneumonia and sepsis, a combination so severe that doctors later told her she had come dangerously close to death. For weeks, she struggled just to breathe. Simple movements required oxygen support. Walking across a room became an exhausting challenge. For someone whose personality once filled entire stages, the silence was frightening. But Goldberg refused to surrender. She slowly fought her way back, determined to speak openly about the experience and warn others about the dangers of ignoring health symptoms. Serena Williams built her legacy by dominating the tennis world with unmatched power and determination. 23 Grand Slam titles made her the greatest player of her generation. On the court, she seemed unstoppable. But the most terrifying moment of her life happened far away from any stadium. In 2017, after giving birth to her daughter, Serena suddenly experienced severe breathing problems. She immediately knew something was wrong. Doctors eventually discovered she was suffering from a pulmonary embolism, a blood clot in her lungs that could have killed her in minutes. The recovery was painful and slow. Every breath felt like a struggle. But Serena refused to let that moment define the end of her story. She returned to tennis and reached multiple Grand Slam finals even after such a life-threatening scare. More importantly, she began speaking out about the risks Black women face during pregnancy and childbirth, turning her terrifying experience into a powerful call for awareness. Samuel L. Jackson is known for his explosive energy and unforgettable performances. His voice alone has become one of the most recognizable in Hollywood. But long before he became a household name, Jackson was fighting a different kind of battle, one that nearly destroyed his life. During the early years of his career, addiction to drugs and alcohol pushed him to the brink.
An intervention by his family ultimately forced him into rehab, a decision that likely saved his life. Today, Jackson openly admits that those years left lasting damage on his body. Now in his 70s, he deals with the physical consequences of that turbulent past. Despite that, he continues to work, choosing roles carefully while maintaining the determination that helped him survive his darkest chapter. Toni Braxton's voice has been described as velvet, smooth, emotional, and powerful enough to bring audiences to tears. Her hit Unbreak My Heart became one of the most memorable songs of the 1990s. But while her music expressed heartbreak, the real pain she faced came from within her own body. In 2010, Braxton revealed she had been diagnosed with lupus, a chronic autoimmune disease where the body's immune system begins attacking itself. For her, the condition has been severe and unpredictable. Some days she has struggled simply to stand or sing. Flare-ups have forced her to cancel performances and spend time in hospitals. Yet she refuses to let the illness silence her completely. Instead, she has used her platform to raise awareness about lupus, especially among Black women who often face delayed diagnoses. Maya Angelou was more than a writer. She was a voice for generations, a poet who captured both pain and hope in words that resonated across the world. In her later years, however, her health began to decline dramatically. Severe heart issues and respiratory complications made even the act of breathing difficult. Yet she continued speaking publicly, sharing wisdom and truth whenever she could. Even when confined to a wheelchair, her presence still commanded rooms filled with thousands of people. Tracy Morgan experienced one of the most devastating accidents in entertainment history. In 2014, a horrific crash on the New Jersey Turnpike left him in a coma with multiple broken bones and severe brain trauma. For weeks, his survival was uncertain. When he eventually regained consciousness, he faced a long rehabilitation process that forced him to relearn how to walk and speak. The comedian who once made audiences roar with laughter had to rebuild his life step by step. Today, every appearance he makes carries deeper meaning because it represents survival. Eddie Morgan's career exploded faster than almost any comedian in history. By the age of 25, he was already a global superstar. But fame at that level came with an enormous cost. The constant touring, filming, and pressure slowly drained his energy and health. Instead of continuing at that destructive pace, Morgan quietly stepped away from the spotlight for several years. Fans wondered where he had gone, but the truth was simple. He needed time to heal. When he returned with projects like Dolomite Is My Name, he did so on his own terms, focusing on balance and well-being. Snoop Dogg built an entire persona around laid-back confidence and endless energy. For decades, he seemed unstoppable, constantly touring, recording music, and appearing everywhere from award shows to television programs. But years of late nights and a relentless lifestyle eventually began to take his toll. There have been moments of unexplained fatigue and health scares that forced him to reconsider his habits. Now in his 50s, Snoop has spoken openly about focusing more on health, family, and longevity, rather than the non-stop party lifestyle that once defined his image. Fantasia Barrino's rise to fame on American Idol felt like a fairy tale. Her raw, emotional voice captured the hearts of millions almost overnight. But behind the scenes, she struggled with overwhelming pressure, financial challenges, and mental health issues. In 2010, Tamji Hawes paused after an overdose that she later described as a cry for help during one of the darkest periods of her life. Instead of letting that moment destroy her career, Fantasia slowly rebuilt herself through therapy, faith, and music that reflected her personal journey. Misty Copeland changed the history of ballet when she became the first Black principal ballerina at American Ballet Theatre. Her performances looked effortless and graceful, but the reality behind them involved years of intense physical pain. Stress fractures, shin splints, and chronic injuries threatened her ability to continue dancing. Doctors warned that pushing her body too far could cause permanent damage. Yet she persisted, determined to inspire the next generation of dancers who never saw themselves represented on that stage. Lisa Ray McCoy has long been admired for her beauty and confidence, but even she has admitted that fame could not shield her from depression. Behind the glamorous image was a struggle with emotional emptiness that sometimes made it difficult just to get through the day. By speaking openly about mental health, she helped break the stigma that often prevents people from seeking support. Bill Cosby's story is one of the most complicated in modern entertainment history. Once celebrated as a cultural icon and television pioneer, he is now a controversial figure whose legacy has been deeply damaged by legal battles and accusations. At the same time, age has taken a visible toll on his health. Now well into his 80s, Cosby is nearly blind and physically frail. His story stands as a stark reminder that fame, power, and influence cannot stop the passage of time.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar dominated basketball with unmatched skill and intelligence. But in 2009, he faced a frightening diagnosis: chronic myeloid leukemia. The disease forced him to confront his mortality in a way he had never experienced before. Instead of hiding the diagnosis, he eventually went public, using his platform to educate others about the importance of early detection and medical awareness. Kym Whitley, known for her comedic brilliance, also carries a deeply personal motivation to stay healthy. Coming from a family affected by heart disease and diabetes, she realized that ignoring her health could shorten the time she has with her adopted son. That realization pushed her to make significant lifestyle changes and become an advocate for preventative care. Chris Rock has spent decades making audiences laugh with his sharp observations about society, but privately he struggled with a neurological condition called nonverbal learning disorder, which affects the ability to interpret social cues and communication signals. For years, he didn't fully understand why certain interactions felt difficult. After receiving a diagnosis as an adult, he began intensive therapy and used that experience to deepen both his personal life and his comedy.
Wendy Williams built her reputation on fearless commentary and bold personality, but in recent years her health challenges have been devastating. Graves' disease and lymphedema began affecting her energy, speech, and mobility. Eventually, she revealed an even more serious condition, primary progressive aphasia and frontotemporal dementia, a degenerative brain disorder that slowly affects communication and cognitive abilities. For someone whose career depended on her voice, the diagnosis has been heartbreaking. Gabrielle Union has always appeared confident and strong on screen, but behind that strength, she endured years of heartbreak while trying to start a family. After experiencing multiple miscarriages, she openly shared the emotional toll of infertility and the painful journey that eventually led to welcoming her daughter through surrogacy. By speaking about an issue many women feel pressured to hide, she helped create a conversation about reproductive health and emotional resilience. These stories remind us of something powerful. Behind every celebrity we admire is a human being facing challenges we rarely see. Fame may bring wealth and admiration, but it cannot shield anyone from illness, pain, or the passage of time. And sometimes the strongest people we look up to are quietly fighting the toughest battles of their lives.